Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Stefan Anker. I'm from Berlin in Germany, and I'm very happy to be here. RESHAPE-HF2 was designed in 2013 after the 2012 guidelines gave a fairly positive first recommendation to consider using MitraClip in patients with heart failure and functional mitral regurg. And there was a need really to do a trial. And we wanted to do the trial for the spectrum of functional MAR patients, moderate to severe. 3+ and 4+ really was the key inclusion criteria, but by European standards. Basically, we did the trial over 9 years, and then in the middle of it came out the two trials you're referring to, having mostly focused on severe functional regurg patients. And these patients basically had a 23% mortality at 1 year in the control group. And just to show you one major difference, our 1 year mortality in the control group was 14%. So by and large, our patients are more mildly diseased, have a better prognosis. So these patients have many hospitalizations for heart failure, and we wanted to investigate whether cardiovascular death together with recurrent heart failure hospitalizations, or alternatively, recurrent heart failure hospitalizations alone can be reduced with this treatment in these patients across the spectrum of disease. If you look in the end at the patients that we recruited, you will find that some key characteristics used for functional MR severity assessments are somewhat less severe in our patients, the way they were assessed, than in the other trials. So what is called the EROA is lower than in both other trials. The left ventricular end diastolic volume is in the middle between the two other trials. The ejection fraction is spot on the same as in the other trials. The natriuretic peptide levels are lower than in the other trials. And that fits together with the prognosis of these patients on average being somewhat better. To me, they are different and significantly different because it allows us for the first time to make a statement about patients with less than severe functional mitral regurg. So whether you call them moderate or whether you call them moderate to severe, let's agree we call them less than severe by and large in this trial, maybe 70% less than severe. And these patients essentially had a similar benefit than the patients with severe FMR. And so this trial points to the possibility that maybe in the future we can extend the group of patients that we want to address with this treatment to these patients. But I would also say this isn't the end of the story. I'm sure some, or many actually, will say we need really confirmatory evidence for this. The combined endpoint of cardiovascular death and heart failure hospitalization recurrent events, 36% reduced. If you only look at heart failure hospitalizations recurrent, 41% reduced within 2 years, very substantial reductions. And only because these reductions are so substantial was the trial possible to be significantly positive. Because we had 500 patients, we wanted to actually recruit 650 with the original assumptions of maybe a 20 to 25% benefit. And only because we have this bigger benefit, really we have with these 505 patients a very strong and significant, statistically speaking, result. In addition, quality of life improved. I do realize that this is an open label study, but 11 points different in Kansas City cardiomyopathy questionnaire is big, first, and the results on hospitalizations are concurrent, as are the results for the 6-minute walk test, 20 meters improved. Now, mortality. Well, at 2 years, from a safety standpoint, we have a reduction in mortality of about 25%, but the p-value is 0.09. At longer follow-up, things become more neutral. We have, depending on the length of follow-up, 10 to 17% reduction, but not significant. So mortality, if you like, is the one grain of salt, a little bit, that people would have hoped to see already a reduction here. But maybe it needs more the co-op-like patients with a much more severe kind of outcome and functional MR, compared at least to our patients, to really show within 2 years a significant reduction in mortality. the biggest dig that we can actually do, I believe, and the investigators of the MITRA-FR trial have already an agreement with us that we can have the database of MITRA-FR together with RESHAPE. And with the senior investigators of the co-op trial, we also have this agreement, yet we just need to arrange that hopefully this is possible in the near future to really actually physically be able to merge these databases, to do an individual patient meta-analysis. Because what is obvious is there is a lot of heterogeneity in the results. And that makes even classical meta-analysis difficult. And you may see over the weekend there is a JAC coming out, a meta-analysis, and it shows like two different ways of analyzing things in an optimistic way, in a random effects meta-analysis, in a conservative way, and the results are rather different. And you might say there's something then there for everybody, but that's not how medicine should work. You need to have a real proper result, and that will come, I believe, in the near future, hopefully sooner rather than later, with the individual patient meta-analysis. I would hope that many physicians, I don't want to impose on guideline writers, but many colleagues in the power to make such recommendations, that they will start to see that even patients with less than severe functional MR should at least be considered for this treatment approach. Maybe a soft recommendation, I don't know. Certainly not a negative. I'm positive about the results, and they indicate to me that there is benefit to be had for these patients. But really also we need confirmation of this to make this an as valid standpoint as we can. For severe functional MR, I think we have now taken the results here together, a good indication that this should be done.